Stand up an all-in-one backend for your web or mobile applications with Jinaga Replicator as a service. Hey QED coders, this is Michael, Director of Consulting at Improving. For help designing or building your web or mobile applications, or just to talk through some ideas, email me at michael.perry@improving.com. Now onto Jinaga Replicator as a service. Jinaga is a data management platform for web and mobile applications supporting React, React Native, Maui, and Blazor. The Replicator as a service is your all-in-one backend. It provides the database, the API, authentication, and security. All you need to do is to build and deploy your front end. Today we're going to walk through the steps that your deployment team will use to design and share an application backend. These steps include standing up a new replicator, seeding it with test data, querying that test data, configuring authentication, and enforcing security rules. For this State of Jinaga update, I would like you to follow along. You can find all of the instructions and materials at jinaga.com. Once you're there, click on Docs, and that'll take you right to the replicator page. Here you'll find example HTTP YAC files and an example Postman collection. So grab those downloads and let's get started. The first thing that you'll want to do is go to the Jinaga portal. This will take you to dev.jinaga.com where you can sign in or create an account using GitHub. Now, this won't give me access to your repositories, but it's much easier for you and for me if GitHub is managing your identity. So we'll sign in with GitHub, and then once you're in, you can create a new replicator. I'll call my replicator blog because I'll be creating a very simple CMS system. Now, when you create this replicator, you're going to be given a URL. Initially, this URL is not live. You'll first need to publish it. Now that you've got that replicator published, you've got your own database in the cloud. Congratulations! You have deployed your replicator. Now we're going to want to seed it with some data. To do that, we're going to use the HTTP YAC files that we downloaded off of jinaga.com. These files work inside of Visual Studio Code using a plugin called HTTP YAC. So install this client, and then we can get started. We're going to first start with create site sans auth. Now this is going to post to our replicator URL at the /write endpoint. The contents of this file look an awful lot like JSON objects. These are the facts that we're going to store in the replicator. So we'll have a creator, which is a Jinaga user that has a public key. And then we'll have a site, which is created by that creator and has the domain michaelperry.net. Now, in order to send this, I need to set that replicator URL. I can do that inside of env local. This was the contents that I copied off of jinaga.com. I'm going to want to set my actual replicator URL, so let me go back here and grab that. And now when I save that and create site sans auth, I should be able to send that up to my replicator. And just like that, you've created your first fact. Now, you might not believe me. Let's go ahead and pull that data back. And we're going to use the get posts sans, or get sites sans auth in order to do that. So this is going to look at that particular creator with that same public key, and then given that creator, it's going to find all sites such that the site creator is equal to that creator. Then after it pulls them back down, it's going to give me the site's domains. So when I send that, I get back an array of the string michaelperry.net. So you can see pretty quickly you're storing data, you're retrieving data, and you're doing this in terms of immutable facts. This, by the way, is a specification. You don't need to write these specifications when you're actually writing your code. You can use the Jinaga client to create these specifications using a query language in TypeScript, or you can use LINQ in .NET. Okay, so we've got a site up there. Now let's see if we can create some posts. So let's go to create post sans auth. And here we're posting to that same /right endpoint. And it's going to be the same creator, the same site, but now we're also going to create a post and a title. But then you see here, there's another title. Let's go through these things one at a time. Starting with the post. Now you notice that the post's title is not part of this fact, and that's because facts are immutable. If we included the post title in this fact, then we wouldn't be able to change it. So instead, we just have enough information to differentiate it from other posts. So I know that this post is inside of this site, and I say that it was created at this particular date and time. And then, after I have created that post, I can set the title. So I'll first set the title to Introducing Jinaga Replicator. And you can see that the prior is an empty array. That means this was the very first title. Then sometime later, I came back and decided, no, I'm going to rename it to Introduction to the Jinaga Replicator. And so now the prior array contains that first title. So title 2 replaces the first one. And this is how we model mutable objects inside of Jinaga. So let me go ahead and seed this sample data. That's been created. And now I want to pull that data back from the replicator. So I'm going to call getPosts sans auth. So in order to get the posts, I need to tell it which site I want to get the posts from. So I'll use the creator and the domain michaelperry.net in order to identify that site. And then I'm going to pull back those posts. There's a lot going on here, so let me simplify things down a little bit. I'll start with just the basics. So, given the site, I'm going to pull back all of the posts for that site. Let's send that request, and you can see that I get back an array containing just one object. That object has a post, and the post was created at this particular date. So this gives you back an object representing each of the different variables that you've declared inside of the specification here. So then what I want to do is I want to project each one of those objects into something new. So I'll use the little projection symbol. And now I'm going to project into an object, and so that object is going to have an ID, which is the hash of the post. So when I run that, oops, I should use an equal sign instead of a quote, colon. There we go. So when I do that, now my array contains an object that has this particular ID, this hash. Now I'll also want the domain. So the domain is equal to post. Nope. Don't want the domain. That's part of the site. I already know the domain. Now I want the titles. So notice I said titles, not title. Here's why. When I get to the titles of the post, I have to use a new specification to do that. So I'm going to want every title, which is of type blog.post.title, such that title post being of type blog.post is equal to post. So I can send that, and I get back my titles. But I get back both of my titles. That's because this particular blog post had two titles over time. Now, of course, I really only want to know the most recent one. So let's first of all project this so I just get the title value. So I want title.value. That will simplify things down just a little bit. Okay, now I've just got the strings. But now I want only the titles that have not been superseded. Remember, introducing Jinaga Replicator was the first one, and then I replaced it with Introduction to the Jinaga Replicator as the second one. So that means that not only do I want the titles in this post, but then I also want, where not exists, a next title. How do I identify a next title? Well, that's a title where next prior is a blog post title equal to this one. So if that doesn't exist, then that means I've got the most recent title. And so that should give me just Introduction to the Jinaga Replicator. It eliminates the earlier one because this later one includes the earlier one inside of its prior collection. And so this is a pattern you're going to get used to. This is how you will model mutable properties in Jinaga. Okay, so we're able to create posts, we're able to change their titles, and we are able to retrieve that information. So we've got a pretty good start. We can do all of this and share all of this data with our code developers even before we start to write our first line of code. This is kind of like the SSMS experience. But now I really want to secure my replicator. I want to lock things down. So, since the Replicator as a service is intended to be used by web and mobile applications, one of the ways in which you can secure the Replicator is with login via Apple. So I'm going to configure authentication, and this gives me all of my configuration for sign in with Apple. If you are an Apple developer, then you've already got everything you need. Otherwise, you'll need to sign up for the Apple Developer Program at $99 per year. And if you are developing for Google, then the Google sign-in is coming soon. So the app description is going to be blog, and we'll have our com.qedcode.blog as our bundle ID. Okay, so now that we've set up these settings, then we're going to walk through some instructions on how we can set things up on Apple. So let's go to our Apple developer account and get signed in there. And once you're signed into your developer account, then you just need to follow the instructions. The first thing that we need is our team ID, which is under membership details. So here is the team ID. I will copy that and paste that in right here. Next, I'm going to need to register an app ID. Here are the settings that I'll use for that app ID. So let's go to identifiers. And then in here, I'm going to add a brand new identifier. This will be an app ID, type app, and then we fill in the description and the bundle ID. I've captured those right here, so let me just copy those and paste them in. And then I will also want to scroll down and click Sign in with Apple. Sign in with Apple is enabled as the primary app ID. So then I continue and register. Okay, so now I've got the app ID. Let's register a service ID. So I go back to identifiers. This time I add a service ID, and I need the description and the identifier. I've captured those here. The description is your blog account, and the identifier is comqedcodeblog.auth in my case. Use your own domain name, please. And then we continue and we register, and we go back so we can edit it again. So register, and then go back to your blog account so that we can check sign in with Apple and configure that. So after checking that and hitting configure, I need to set up my domains and subdomains, just like so, and the return URLs. Use the value provided. And then next, oh, wait, before I go, I have to make sure that I select the primary app ID. There we go. Now we are done with this. Continue and save. Okay, so that has registered a service ID. What's next? Next, we create a key. So we go to the keys section and we create a key using this key name, signing key for blog. So keys, new key, signing key for blog. I check sign in with Apple and configure and select the primary app ID. And then once it generates a key, after I hit save and continue and register, then I will copy that key ID and I will upload the key file. So let's save, let's continue, let's register. So I've got the key ID, I copy that, that goes here, and then I upload the key file. So let me download it first. It's in my downloads folder, so now I choose the file from my downloads folder and I upload that. So that should have a similar name to the key ID. Alright, once that is uploaded, I hit next and I set my callback URLs. So all of that was to set up Apple's authentication, and now I need to authenticate with my application. Since I'm using HTTP YAC, I'm going to use http://localhost 3000/callback. That is a callback URL that HTTP YAC uses. So finish that off, and now I have set up authentication using Apple. I have all of these different settings that I can copy into my environment local. So let's get back to my env local. And in order to do this authentication, I'm going to be using OAuth 2. So the authorization endpoint right here is the thing that ends in auth apple. We can see authorization URL right here. Paste that in. The token endpoint ends in auth token. Here's the auth token URL. Copy that. Paste that there. And then the client ID, that's this value here. Paste that in. Now we're going to be using OAuth 2 using the authorization code endpoint with Pixie. So use Pixie is set to true. And this is going to get us all set up for using authorization with our endpoints here. So we save that. And now things like get post sans auth will no longer work because I've turned on authorization. So let me push send here, and it's making a liar out of me. I can actually read my posts without authenticating. Oh, that's right. That's because the next step is to turn on authorization. So now I turn on authorization. This gives me my authorization endpoint. So I can put that into env local. And then I'll also want to generate a secret. And so now that secret is right here. I'll copy the distribution endpoint. So I have that. And I'll copy that secret. Now I have that. Okay. So now that I have enabled authorization, then this should no longer work. Let's try that again. Oh, goodness. Okay. Read is still working. All right. I am going to have to take a look at that. That should be disabled at this point. Let me try creating some posts. So create post sans auth. So again, I'm not logged in. Now this is the post that already exists. So if I try to create this one, it might actually accept it because it says, oh, you're not actually creating anything. Let me just make sure. Okay. No, this is running the authorization rules. So unauthorized facts for Jinaga user, blog site, blog post title. All of those facts are unauthorized. Okay, good. So by turning those things on, I've locked down my replicator as a service, so only authorized people can write data into it. So how do I make sure that I'm authorized to do so? I'll switch over to the create posts with auth. So now you can see a few differences here. First of all, we have enabled authorization. We're using OAuth 2 and the authorization code flow. Then it's getting all of the parameters that it needs for the authorization code flow from env local, and we've already set those up. That's all those values here. And then the second thing that you'll notice is that we don't define the creator user anymore. Notice here we defined the creator as the user having this particular public key. In this case, however, I'm not defining the user. The creator is me. So me means the logged in user. So I'm going to authorize using OAuth 2, which is going to log in with Apple, and then that's going to be the user that is now the creator for this blog site. Okay, let's give that a try. Right now, I haven't set any authorization rules, so I will expect this to fail once it gets to that point. But let's go ahead and send. And now we have sign in with Apple. So I'm going to sign in using my Apple ID. And I'm going to hide my email. Your end users will have this same choice whenever they use your application. So they can choose to hide their email. And then this is the callback to localhost 3000 that HTTP YAC has picked up the code and given it back to the plugin. And now the plugin can use that authorization code in order to call the replicator. The replicator rejects the facts of type blog site, blog post, and blog title. It doesn't reject the fact of type user because that user already exists. That's me. So what we have to do is tell the replicator as a service who is allowed to create a site, to create a post, and to set the post title. And we will do that by defining some authorization rules. So go ahead and open the define authorization rules request. And here you will see that it's going to post to the authorization endpoint. That's the one that we copied in here. And it's going to use the secret as a bearer token. And this is a secret that you as a developer should keep to yourself. This is not a secret to be shipped with your application. This is a build step. You will want to set up your authorization rules inside of your CI/CD process. And don't worry about having to type in this syntax. When you code your authorization rules in TypeScript or in C#, the runtime will turn that into this authorization syntax so that you can upload those rules during your build. But these rules are actually pretty simple to read because they are just a derivative of the query syntax that we already saw. So we start with anybody can create a Jinaga user just by signing in. And then who can create a blog site? Only the creator of that site can create that site. Well, that seems kind of redundant. Well, let's look at this. I am logged in as me, so I can claim that there is a site created by me. I cannot claim that there is a site created by some other user. So this allows me to create sites on my own, but it does not allow me to spoof somebody else and pretend that my site was created by them. So, who can create a site? The site's creator. Who can create a post? Well, that post has a site, and that site has a creator. So that site's creator can create a post. So you can create a post within your own site. That's what that rule says. And then finally, who can title that post? Who can create a blog post title? Well, that title belongs to a post. That post is in a site, and that site has a creator. That creator can create the post title. So these rules, we'll upload them to the replicator, and then the replicator will enforce them whenever we try to create new facts. So let's go back to create post with auth, and let's see if we can create these facts this time. So I'll hit send, and now they're created. So now that we have created those posts, let's see if we can get those posts. So let's call get posts with auth. And again, we have the site created by me called michaelperry.net, and we're using OAuth 2 in order to run this query. So we're doing the /read endpoint, and this is the same query that we saw before. Given a site, give me the posts. Right here, this is saying we're looking for the posts that are not deleted. So there does not exist a deleted fact for this post. That's okay, we haven't created any deleted facts. So once we've got those posts, now I need the hash, I need the created at date, and I need the titles. Those titles are the titles for this post, such that there does not exist a next title where next prior contains this title. Then give me those titles and values, and I should be able to see all the titles in this site. Will I be able to do it? There it is. So now I can get the titles for all the posts in this site. Now I'm actually a little bit surprised that this worked. I'm guessing that I'm not deploying the default lockdown distribution rules. So let me go ahead and show you what those are. I'll get that fixed, so by the time you try this demo yourself, when you run these queries, you won't be able to see the results. I'm going to define distribution rules. So here we're going to call our distribution endpoint, and we're going to send up a set of distribution rules. If I send no distribution rules, then that should clear them out, and nobody should be able to read any posts. So let me get posts with auth, send, and I cannot distribute any information related to these queries. It's telling you specifically which queries it cannot distribute based on, and it's pretty much the entire thing. It's broken it down into smaller feeds, but it's not allowed to send you back any information. if I tried to get posts sans auth, then I should see the same thing now. I cannot distribute to you because you are just a random user on the internet. So now let's set up the actual distribution rules. So here I want to share the results of this specification, no matter what site we use. I want to share that with everyone. I could also say I want to share that with, and then run another specification from the site in order to figure out who to share it with. Maybe just some of the things that are private I just want to share with the site's creator. But in this case, I want to share all of the posts and the titles with everyone. So let's send that information. And now I have reconfigured the distributor, the replicator, with these distribution rules. So get posts with auth. I'm logged in as me, and I can get my own site's posts. Got that information. Let's try get posts sans auth. So here I'm not logged in. I should still be able to get the posts. I cannot get the posts for a site. Interesting. No rules apply to this feed. Okay, so that might be something else to look into as well. I should be able to read this as an anonymous user because everyone includes anonymous users. So, at any rate, this is the Jinaga Replicator as a service. Using this replicator as a service, all you have to do is create your client-side code, and then this takes care of the data and the API behind this, this one URL right here. It also takes care of authentication and authorization. So please go to jinaga.com, download these files, and create a replicator of your very own. Let me know what you build.